So I'd like to talk briefly about what works really well on Kickstarter. You can put anything up there, but the fact is that not all projects are going to be successful. So I've kind of developed my own system for understanding what works well on Kickstarter. The very first thing is professional projects. So when I say a professional project, I mean a book that can compete with a traditionally published book on a shelf in a bookstore. Whatever you do, whatever you put out there, whatever the project looks like, it needs to be as professional as possible. So when people hold it in their hands, they need to say, yes, this is a legitimate book. It doesn't look like something that's been cobbled together by somebody's grandkid and then stapled. Okay, so as professional as possible. Number two is what I call a niche book. So my book is actually an example of a niche book. It's a math picture book. Now, when I got started in this process, I didn't even know that math picture books were a thing. But through the process, I understood that the more you can narrow down the focus of your audience, the better chances you have of really connecting with that audience and giving your book a really nice launch into the marketplace. So this is another example. This is a Kickstarter book about protons and neutrons, my first science textbook. So niche books are books that I describe as nerdy and awesome. They're nerdy because maybe they're the kind of books that a traditional publisher would say, oh, well, that doesn't have a wide audience. Math picture books, that's not a huge part of the marketplace. Or protons and neutrons, well, little kids need to learn about protons and neutrons. You don't learn that until middle school. Well, there's a lot of smart people on Kickstarter, and they're talking about their protons and neutrons to their kids. So nerdy and awesome are two characteristics that are always going to fly on Kickstarter. Another one that I really loved was there was a book that came out a couple years ago called B is for Brains, which was a little kid's book about zombies. So again, probably not going to fly with everyone, but you know that there are some young parents out there who love zombie culture and who want to normalize it for their kids. So they're going to want a book like that. It's nerdy and it's awesome. So the third category that I like to think about is something called awareness books. So if there are certain ideas that are not yet represented in the children's book marketplace, then that is a good idea for Kickstarter. For a long time, a lot of the children's book projects that were doing well on Kickstarter had non-binary children or transgender children. Maybe I know there was an author who was a young black woman who was doing like a coding book for young black girls. So when I talk about awareness books, it means someone who is not traditionally represented in the culture. So books about autism, books about children with disabilities, books about children who have imaginary friends, those type of things. So now that you have an idea of what's going to do well on Kickstarter, you can either move on to the next video, or you can look in the workbook and make some decisions for yourself about your own book and how you're going to make it nerdy and awesome.